Shalom, Yeshua. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chodash, and the honest beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. While peace and salutations to all you hopeful like talking out there laboring that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Amar from the GMS Boise, Idaho camp, and I'm just blowing the whistle on some recent news that happened today, Tuesday, June 30th. And what is the Supreme Court votes 6-3 to uphold birthright citizenship, striking down Trump's executive order. What this means is if your parents are immigrants or from another country and don't have their citizenship, as long as you were born in on America, so in American soil, on American soil, then you're considered a citizen. And that's what a lot of people have, what they're called anchor babies. I guess you could consider like my dad an anchor baby. Because my grandparents, when an example, when they were living in Mexico, in Ciudad Juarez, which is a border town right across pretty much the river from El Paso, when my abuela was ready to have my dad, they went over to El Paso, and so that's how my dad got his citizenship, and then my grandparents ultimately, made it up here to where I'm at now. But the point being is that was a common thing to do, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But coming in from another country, if you were 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant, they sometimes wouldn't even let you fly because complications, as well as you being in another country automatically opens up a different law book, I guess you could say. But what I want to bring all this with all that rambling is that Esau is mad. The real Edomites are mad because they don't want to share anything, and they're over here coming from parts of Western Asia and the other part of the world in Europe, and they're calling themselves Americans now. So the hypocrisy and what Esau is doing is real. But the first scripture that came to my mind was Job 20 and verse 10. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hands shall restore their goods. Ultimately, we know that white guilt is something that Esau, as so-called women are feeling, because you can see that they're getting turned against him, and gravitating towards Jake, because what that is a strong power of is the power dynamic. Because Jake, forever, his dark skin has been looked down upon. Oh, what are you doing in my town, boy? What are you doing in my neck of the woods? Type getting hit up. But now Jake is, like you can say, back in style, the commodity. And Esau is seeing that his power is slipping. And ultimately, like they had an article released that there's the first time ever in history that there's been ever more so-called minority births than white births. And what that shows is that Esau is on the decline, and that he understands that ultimately, man, he's going to have to come down with that sword, but for the time being, he's just stirring the pot, because what this does is it causes further divide amongst Esau, because you have the group of Edomites that are just, fuck them, people that are darker than a paper bag, minorities. All these other people, they think that they're going to have their good old America and keep it the same way, man. Well, it's never been. America has never been a majority white, so-called. But what you can see Esau doing is him trying to please the poor, because this is in the most part in Jake's favor, i.e. the Northern Kingdom. But we understand that all those Northern Kingdom Jakes that now see this law being passed and get incentivized, which means they see something that is a benefit for them if they go do it, is going to bring more numbers here in Babylon the Great, the furnace that's going to ultimately get burnt up. And if you're not of the elect, hey man, the Lord is bringing a lot of Northern Kingdom here to be judged. This is Job 20 and 10 again. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods. Verse 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. And dust representing confusion. And his bones are full of the sin of his youth, because this is what he's always been doing, man, ever since the beginning. So don't think that Esau passing a 6-3 vote is ultimately in your favor, Jake. yeah, even though it's been a topic and a high top talking point for these last couple years, ever since DJ Nero, started doing a lot of executive orders. So what you see is, like the saying goes, to every action there is a reaction. So you have the left wing of Esau's government, which we know that they all work, together, birds of the feather. The left wing, the right wing are the same bird. Birds of a feather flock together, etc. So though they appear like they're fighting, this is ultimately just going to further push, like I said, the divide amongst Esau. And one of the main comments that caught my attention, and I did screenshot it, is this is Esau. If you go to the comment section of anybody talking about these new laws that got passed for the birthright citizenship, you're going to see Esau's horns. This is just a little picture that I saw. He said, I'm an American citizen. He said, what kind of citizen? And we know there's that movie from the Civil War. I'm probably going to make this the headline. But I just thought that was funny because they're pissed, man. Damn, I don't think I screenshotted that picture. Man, I don't think I think I left it in my other album, Salakia Yashar Allah, but it pretty much said, well, that's good that they have the 14th Amendment. Wait till the Second Amendment shows up again during the 2028-2030. So what Esau and Code was talking about is, wait till we get sick and tired of you, these damn minorities, and we take matters into our own hands with the Second Amendment. That's what Esau's talking about online. And we had an interaction. I did a video about the interaction from an Edomite at camp showing his devil horns when we were talking about the different weapons of warfare that Esau has ready to unleash on you Israelites, you Jake out there, man, you 2/3. And not to mention amongst himself, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of infighting amongst Esau. So, Salakia, this is Job 20 and verse 12. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue. So he's though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, because this man is a very good soothsayer with his words. The way he writes things to be legal, But when you look in the fine details, just like in the cartoon, they want to know who ate the last cookie or whatever, right? And they lift up the cartoon character's tongue, and they see the cookie right there, right under his tongue, man. They're like, oh, you ate it. He's like, no, I was saving it for later. But the point is that, he's hiding it, man. That's like a analogy. And I think it's so funny because they show it in the cartoons, when they grab the tongue and he lift it up and they say, what do you got right here? Because though he says one thing, he means another. Another analogy is speaking with a forked tongue. And what type of tongue does a snake have? A deceptive, deceiving, split tongue. You always see the snake slithering around, and that's Esau. I'll read one more. Job 20 and 13. Though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. Whoo, man. So he's always got something up his sleeve. So don't think that this is going to be ultimately in your benefit, Jake. And I want to read a little bit of the article before I do too much rambling. But this is the U.S. news. The Supreme Court struck down President Trump's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship. Getting into it, in a 6-3 decision, Chief Justice John blah blah wrote for the majority that children born in the U.S. to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are citizens at birth, under the 14th Amendment, reaffirming the long-held principle that nearly anyone born on U.S. soil is an American citizen. Citizenship then and now was the right to have rights, to freely participate in political, community, etc. Roberts wrote, the framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every freeborn person in this land. We keep that promise today, and that goes into Esau's, founding father talk, which we know they're all fucking Satanist PDF files, different. How many bodies did Ben Franklin have under his house? More than 300. But the point being is that, these laws were never intended for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. When the Constitution was being written, when these laws were being wrote down, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were looked at as a 3/5 of a human being. And not to mention, during the Bacon Rebellion, which was up until it was a early 1600s, where you didn't even have such thing as a white person or a black person. And the majority of you Gadites that looked so-called African American were reclassified as Negro so that you couldn't receive any land grants or any benefits from the federal government from you being of the Native American tribes. Because a lot of the Native American tribes look like, so-called Judah, or look like Judah, so-called black man, mainly down in the South. So what Esau did is he made a bunch of these laws, and made children of freed slave citizens so that they could ultimately, work their way into society under Jim Crow laws. So the point being is that there's a lot of history of what has happened from when these laws are written down to right now, which is why there's so much confusion in Esau's laws, and as well as a lot of infighting. So again, when these laws were written down, Jake was not at all in the picture of these being applied to. And that's what a lot of these damn Edomites really try to push out and say that these don't apply to them. Those apply to free slaves. And then that's how you also get these groups like Foundational Black Americans that are against anybody trying to take their heritage, which pretty much they're Kunites, the sucking Esau's titty, man, because they're just being fed by the beast system. So Salakia, not to get too much more rambling, but you can look into this article. There's a lot of information going out there, and look into the comments. That's one thing I wanted to highlight. Look into the comment board. When you look at some of these article headlines and stuff like that, you're going to see Esau's devil horns right then and there, man. They're going to say, oh, great, there goes our country. Just a couple off the top that I saw when I was going through these. But this is exciting, man, because this is just going to show Esau's devil horns even more, So Lord willing that this lesson was edifying, I just wanted to bring out that this is, again, Esau's infighting, showing that he's got confusion, showing you that the laws that he puts out there are false. There's another laws that says he causes wickedness to prosper through his laws. Man. Salaki Yashra Allah, it says through his laws he causes evil to man, this is killing me now. I gotta go look at it, Jake. Through laws causes to prosper. Let me see if it shows it like this. Man, I want to say it's in the Apocrypha. Man. Salaki Yashral, it's killing me. It's through his laws causes mischief to prosper. Could you? Man, that's right. It's Salakia. It came to me real quick, but I'm not finding the wording that I'm looking at. But if you know the one that I'm thinking of, I want to say it's in, Daniel or, man, I'm looking to this. Let me look at my scripture real quick. Still like so I'm not gonna hold you too long, but the point is made, through this man's laws, don't expect anything good to come out of it, though he acts like he's doing something good for the people or seeking to please the poor with Jake. Don't think that it's nothing part of the bigger picture to cause, more division, because a house divided cannot stand, and ultimately that's what Babylon is going to become, an unstable house and a house of cards that's about to fall. and that's what's going to happen here in Babylon the Great, known as America. And this is us blowing the trumpet according to scriptures and according to what's written in prophecy. And this is just one of many examples showing you what Esau is up to. So Lord willing that this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Till next time, I would like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chodash, and double honors to beloved elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. While peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring, that are pushing this word and truth and in sincerity. Till next time, Lord willing, Shalom.